Hi, tiny forest dreamers. Okay, let's start with our next lecture. It's lecture 4. First half of the lecture will be held by me. It's about marketing, as you can see. After hearing and learning a lot about climate change, forests, soils, and tiny forests in general, and on the island of Gozo, of course, in the past lectures, today it's about something completely different. Why we are talking or telling you something about these two topics and what this has to do with the project will certainly become clear as we progress. Briefly about me, I am 55 years old, father of a daughter, 19 years old, a son, 21 years old, and for more than 30 years I am a journalist and filmmaker, starting with regional TV news, later nationally and internationally, and above all, moving more and more to documentaries and reports, especially for German public television. In addition, I do films for companies and social institutions, so-called corporate films, but also recruiting films, social media posts and spots, etc., etc. Unfortunately, we are not, as you may guess when you see this picture of SimCity, the game, the video game, we are not, although it sometimes seems, in a video game like SimCity, where you can plant a forest with just a click of a mouse. Well, we cannot just plant the pixels, right? In order to make our goal, even our dream of planting a tiny forest on the island of Gozo come true, we need real trees and plants, soil and water, energy and manpower. And just like in the game, we have to get resources before we're planting. And unfortunately, that's not always free. Of course, some things will be taken care of or clarified in advance, especially by the extremely supportive Ministry for Gozo, but we would still like you to know something about the implementation of such a project, so that you can perhaps plant even more tiny forests like this yourself in the future. Who knows? So we need money and or material support. We have to promote this. That means making it known to the outside world what we are planning. And, almost more important, convincing others to contribute money or support. And that's where we've already arrived at the first part of today's lecture, marketing. What is that? Does anyone know? Marketing is about successfully marketing products or services while responding to the needs of market and potential customers. Official definition. So you're trying to sell something to people, to be blunt. What we want there too. We want people to like the idea of the tiny forest and give us something in return. This sales process, or some refer to it as a sales funnel, is often divided into different phases. Some have 4, some 5, others 7 or more, but we limit ourselves to the main 4 phases. The first phase is attract attention. Easy to understand. If you don't know anything about our project, you have to raise attention. You know, that they turn around to your project. Second phase would be raise interest. Means if you get their attention, get their interest is a deeper stage. You know, make your project interesting, and if they're interested, if they're interested in the project, maybe in a third phase you can generate a desire in them, in the customer. A desire to help you or get participated in the project. That would be the fourth stage, initiate an action, like buy or in our case to donate or help, support our project. But what do you have to find out first? Exactly, the goal. But what exactly do we want to achieve? Any ideas? Okay, let's be specific. The location where we will plant the forest will already be clarified by the Ministry and Professor Kassar. But what else do we need? Of course, we need trees, bushes, etc., according to the suggestions of our experts. And we have to prepare the ground, topsoil, enrich the soil and stuff like that. And above all, we probably need a small excavator to excavate to a minimum depth of 1 meter, I guess, Stefan told us. We need also tools for planting, shovels, etc. And very important, we probably need an irrigation system for watering the plants, especially on this dry island of Gozo and hot island. And we need people who continue to look after the forest after our planting campaign. For example, removing unwanted plants or ensuring the irrigation, the watering. You will learn a lot more about this in our last lecture next Tuesday by Stefan, which will specifically talk about what you need to start the planting campaign at the end of October. Remember the task, maybe you should think of what do you need for the project and maybe how much would this cost, as to ask Stefan. So the most important goal will certainly be to raise money that can be used to pay for plants, tools, and also help. Furthermore, this is a goal that everyone involved from Gozo in Germany can work towards. In marketing, goals are often set according to the SMART pattern. SMART for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. There's another slide where it's more discussed in detail. You can see. Okay, what does that mean for our project? Specific, how much money do we need? This, of course, needs research. Does the location cost anything? The planting, the plants, the trees. Does the tools, how much do the tools cost? Or can we just lend them for free? The excavator to dig the ground costs probably money. Do you need to be driven from A to B during the project on Gozo? Do you need money for the advertising campaign? Maybe printing posters or whatever. Coming to the second point, measurable. How do you plan to measure the success of your efforts? It's probably simple in this case because just a receipt of money. How much money did you get on your account? Is it more or less as you imagined? If it's less, maybe you have to change your marketing strategy or the fundraising strategy. Next point would be attainable. You need to set up a realistic, that is not too easy achieve, but a challenging goal. So not exactly 100 euros, that would be easy to get, but neither 1 million euros. You know what I mean. Next point would be your goal should be relevant, as to say results oriented. That goes without saying in this case, of course. And last point is time bound. You have to set up clear deadline by when how much money should be on the account. I think this is quite clear what it's meant by SMART. You can look for a couple of goals you would like to achieve. Sorry, but we stick to the generating money goal now to make it a bit more streamlined. You can also define other goals. Maybe, for example, activating members of the community around the tiny forest so that they can take care of it, or increase awareness of the tiny forest concept as a viable means of combating climate catastrophe, etc., etc. But coming to the point, what do we want to sell? What is our product? Is it maybe the idea of the tiny forest? Is that accurate enough? Is that specific enough? Or is it the financing and support of the planting? Sorry. Or rather, is it the good feeling of supporting young people in their efforts to combat climate change and at the same time actually doing something concrete about the climate catastrophe? You decide, but I lean towards the latter, but I'm not all knowing, Maybe you'll find something else. Go into research, decide what is your product you would like to sell to the customer. Next point would be the target group. Who do we want to sell to? Who could be receptive? Who would want that good feeling or perhaps image? Maybe fits better to companies. Who could benefit from this? By the way, the benefit, in my experience, that is the core question of all marketing. People always pay attention when they believe that what they are looking at, for example, is of use to them and that they are taking advantage of it. Maybe you could pay attention next time you see a video, for example, a tutorial or whatever, or a sales video. Almost every YouTube video and every post begins by highlighting what the user will gain from watching the film to the end. Find out. Look at it. But how do we get the target groups? You could get people to feel guilty about being responsible for climate change and still do nothing about it. Or as parents of children and young people like you, simply because they want to support your commitment. Or companies maybe would like to engage, that want to polish their image through their commitment to supporting young people in combating climate change. The latter is, of course, close to greenwashing. Maybe you know this term. You are welcome to discuss it and vote on whether you accept it or not. We don't want to get too deep into that. You can maybe talk about that in your classes, in the groups, in your group, or to friends, whatever, or on our newly set up Discord channel. You got the link at the end of this video again. Coming up to sales channels. We have the product and the target groups. What are the appropriate means or media given to the goals, the product, and the target groups? Which media or sales channels are best used as part of this project? Of course, what comes first to mind is social media. It's free and of wide reach, and you can, everyone, I guess, also you did it probably, can invent posts, videos, whatever. But besides that, also useful and effective is word of mouth, like advertising in the pedestrian zone, at school, at family celebrations, maybe using flyers designed by you and tailored to the target group. You could use printed notices or posters in shops, but please ask beforehand you glue a poster on a window. You could attract local or national press for an article. Just send an irresistible press release about our great project. You can use your network, send emails, or even call people. And again, feel free to be creative. Look for more sales channels. It's always good to have more than one. Coming back to packaging and communication. How should the message be packaged? What's the appropriate layout? According to the product and target groups. It can be maybe more conservative, serious, or it can be young and provocative, or even experimental. It's you decide what it's, how it's looked, how is the tone, according the findings you have for your product and your target group. Find out what are competitors doing, people or associations or companies or whatever who are doing quite the same project as we do. How do they package or lay out their communication? Find out what is your USP, your unique selling point or your unique proposition. Because remember, anything that is unique, new, special, attracts buyers, customers. If you are the only one who can guarantee that good climate fight feeling, put it out there. Advertise it. How to create packaging, the look or layout? Use a lot of green, I would suggest, because we are planting trees, but we leave that to you too. But what is very important, pay attention to consistency of the appearance, because of recognition. When you create a social media post, put a YouTube video online, or design a flyer or poster, your brand should be immediately recognizable. It should be clear to everyone that's you and your project. what I see here on the flyer. I've already seen it on Instagram, for example. Put everywhere our logo, maybe, or use the same colors, the same font, the same types, letters, and design of letters, and stuff like that. So now we're coming to the communication strategy. So what should I emphasize? What is the tone? How should I talk to people? Always emphasis on the benefits, as I talked earlier about it. The benefit is the most important for people. What can I gain out of it? Address as directly and personally as possible. Use the language of the target group. Use an eye catcher or an ear catcher. You all know this. If you're watching a crime movie, the first minutes is very action and the murder possibly. So it's the eye catcher, which what keeps the people on your message. You should pay attention to the scope or length of your post and message. You know all that? The shorter, the better. Don't be too lengthy, because no one would, especially if they have first, is it the first contact to your project? If you're doing a half-hour video, maybe nobody would follow. Make it just short, raise attention, raise interest, and stuff like that. Find ways maybe for interaction with the users, with the followers. Let them participate in some way. This raises interest and generates maybe desire and then final action. Maybe with the promise, finance a tree that we will plant for you and become part of the plant our forest, our future forest on Gozo. Or set up a contest. Maybe they can win a tree on Gozo or something like that. Set up live streams. It's also a good method to raise awareness, and create, of course, content in which you report about the project, spread news, answer questions. If you are, for example, at a fundraising event you set up, or at a party, fundraising party, you have organized interviews with sponsors and stuff like that. Coming to the content. It's the same procedure as in marketing in general. Again, define your goal and research buyer personas. Find out who should read this or who should watch it or whatever. Find then a suitable social media platform. Where can it be best? Where can I best find my buyers or customers? Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Or is it even X, the former Twitter? Side note to that, of course, you should always ask, like in greenwashing, ask yourself how you and your project appear and what external impact you want. Perhaps a project like this that deals with climate change is not in so good hands with a now very conservative platform, the channel X, formerly Twitter. Think about it, just think about it. Then create unique, interesting content, of course. And very important, schedule post. Do it regularly, maybe once a week, preferably at a specific time, maybe Mondays at 10 or something. Plus to these regular postings, special events, live streams, etc. Very important, because people get used to routines. Expecting new posts regularly, that's how social media communities build up over time. It's not enough to post something here and then, nobody would notice. 6, analyze impact and results, as in the marketing, as I told beforehand. Measuring here, social media, of course, followers and and clicks. If it's stuck, change something, try something new. How to increase the range in social media, in the social media universe? Use existing networks, of course, again. Use maybe multipliers, influencers. Ask them if they can talk about your project or share maybe a post. Of course, influencers who have already lots of followers, and try this maybe. So the last slide here, you can see some suggestions about content which would appeal to users. As you can see, entertainment is important, inspiration is important, education, conversation, connection, and promotion. And you can see entertainment is very important, as you know. If you're on Instagram, you want to be entertained and maybe also inspired or educated. Look at them, and you can you get the slides, of course, and you can be inspired by these things. All right. So thanks very much for that.
So let's talk a little about fundraising, and let me quickly introduce myself because I haven't been here with you guys yet. So I'm Ras. Here's my email address, ras@dragonlegion.com, and my Discord name. And really feel free to contact me with any questions, any concerns, any comments that you have. I definitely want to help you make this project a really big success. I'm going to be there with you in Gozo as well. So yeah, that said, when we talk about fundraising, let's actually have a conversation and not just a lecture. You know, I don't want you to just sit there and listen all the time. Just, you know, switch on your microphone, say a few things. Don't wait for me to just, you know, call on you all the time. Just, you know, jump into the discussion and say what you have to say. If that doesn't work, you know, if everyone talks at the same time, we'll find some way to regulate that. But please don't be afraid to just share what's on your mind. Yeah. Okay, so what's fundraising? What do you think is fundraising? Anyone? Can you, sorry, can you speak up? Okay, so if you have a lot of background noise, just mute your microphone again after you spoke. Anyone else, can you tell me what fundraising is? What you understand as fundraising?
I think it's collecting money for something.
Mm-hmm. For something, you said. That's absolutely correct. What is that something? What do you collect money for if it's fundraising?
So in our case, I think it's the Tiny Forest project, but in general, maybe like a project or something, a charity or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in general, we could say usually you do fundraising for a good cause. Yeah. Something that people feel good about, something that is worth collecting money for. Let me ask you the following question now. Why would people give you money for a good cause? You know, like if you ask your grandmother or if you ask a friend or something, why would they give you money for a good cause? What's in it for them?
I think there are different type of motivations. As Christian always said, it might be a good feeling. Yeah, I'm doing something for the climate change.
Or you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
And in case of relatives that support us, it's of course the social not distance, the social connection to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. You are absolutely right. There are various reasons why people would give money for such a thing. Yeah. You mentioned some, you know, the feeling good to participate in, you know, working on a solution is definitely a very important one in our case here. The family connection is definitely another one. Any other ideas why people, I'm not talking about companies here, I'm talking about people, right? Why would people be willing to give you money?
maybe another reason could be that some people who are quite privileged want to share some of their privilege and give it to people, or things like a forest, like nature, give something back to them.
Absolutely, yes. Like saying, hey, I have more money than I need. I should actually give that to places or people who need it, or something that definitely exists as well. And also things like, hey, I like that idea. I want to support that idea, but I can't do it myself. I can't go to Gozo and plant trees, for instance. Yeah. So definitely there are various reasons why people would support that. And in your case here, it is very important that you understand why people could give you money. Because when you understand why they would give you money, you also understand how you would communicate with them, how you would actually approach them, and what's in it for them. Yeah. Let's go to the next part. Why would companies give you money for a good cause? What's in it for them?
Probably to simply kind of boost her image, to get to showcase that, like, yeah, we donated money for a good cause, so we kind of stand there in a better light, I'd say.
Yeah, and this is really the primary reason why a company would do that. You need to understand companies are not about giving away money. That's not what a company does. Yeah. Even if you feel like, okay, there are some good companies out there, definitely there are some good companies out there, but the way a company works is a company can't just give away money. A company has to be efficient. A company needs to earn money. And usually there is not one person in the company who can just say, oh, let's just give it all away. You can do that when it's your private money, when you're the one who has, maybe you're a company owner and you have earned the money, then it's your money and you can give it away. But the company is not really in a position to give away money. However, as you said, they are definitely in a position in which they can spend money on doing something that is beneficial for the company. Yeah. And getting a good image is definitely one of the big things. Companies invest billions of euros into advertising. It's a huge thing. They invest so much money into that. And getting a good image is definitely part of their marketing and advertising strategy. And you might be able to give them, just what they need, just what they're looking for. That, in the local community or whatever reach you have, they can get a good image by saying, hey, we participated in contributing to this forest. Yeah. So it's really important to understand that companies are not in it for the good of the cause. They will say that, of course. They will, because that's part of their presentation. They will say, our company believes in protecting the environment, fighting climate change and stuff like that. Yes, that's the image they're giving themselves. But technically, on a financial level, a company just doesn't give away money. They give it to have something in mind, to have a goal in mind. And that's extremely important to understand. Christian spoke a little about greenwashing. Yes, there are companies who are actually part of the problem, who are causing things that contribute to climate change and stuff like that. And some of these companies use these strategies of actually doing something for the environment and doing some good in order to actually balance out the bad perception they have in the public eye, so that they actually say, yeah, but we're also doing something good, so we are not just bad guys. And Christian suggested that you should think about if you really want to approach those companies. And yes, that's always a tricky question, right? If you give them an opportunity to greenwash themselves. On the other hand, you could also make the argument that why not let these companies pay? Maybe pay extra for something like that, right? So, but really, we don't want to influence that. That's the discussion we need to. The important thing is to understand companies want to get something out of this. Yeah, don't expect them to just give away money.
Plus, I have a question about that.
Yeah.
two things that Chris mentioned in his presentation. First, we need a unique logo for our fundraising, and something that can be recognized everywhere. So this would be definitely the Tiny Forest logo that one of you has created. And if the fundraising among companies is like a giving and taking, then a question is, what can the company get from us? And when we say they can use the logo, for example, on their website and write something like, hey, we are supporting the Tiny Forest project on Gozo. How far can we go with that? I mean, is there a certain point when you say, hey, we don't want this? Or do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I do. And that's a very good question. From our side, there are no limits except for the legal limits, right? So there are, for instance, we are like ultimately the money for doing such project, like the organization of such project and something like that, comes from the European Union, from the European Commission, to be more precise. And we cannot let you put the European Commission logo on a company website or something like that, because that would have legal implications, right? But this project logo or something like that is not a problem at all. And from our side, we will just say, we're just leaning back and watching you do it, and we'll step in and stop you if we see something problematic. But if you decide that you want to offer this to the companies and say, hey, you can say we are supporter of this initiative, then you go with it. That is your decision. And you, I don't mean you personally, I mean all of you, as a group. As a group,
it's just a possible part of the deal, because for an example, in our school, in the Ricarda Huch School in Dreieich, we also get support by some companies, and there's a sign in the front of the school where the logos of the companies supporting us are just put on. And so everybody can see, I don't know, this and this company is doing something good for the school. And in exchange from our fundraising idea, it might be something like putting the logo on the website of, I don't know, Mercedes, BMW or whatever, and connected with a link to Dragon Legion or to the Milwaukee Forest project from Stefan, and saying this is a project that we are supporting, and so we are doing really something good, and we are doing something specific that is really happening in the real world. And I think this is something that we really sell. We don't say we have an idea. We are realizing an idea, and I think this might be a point that may open some money pocket.
Yes, absolutely. So as I said, we'll support this. It's in your hands. We are very flexible with this. You make the decisions, and you can always come to us and ask us, do you think this is a great idea, and we'll advise you on that. But we really want this to be in your hands. Okay. Just for now, imagine you can go as far as you like, as long as we don't run into legal trouble. There are legal borders, of course.
No, I just wanted to know if there are some restrictions, like you say you have the copyright or so, and we cannot put it on papers or on flags. Okay, we are not. Okay.
Feel free to use that as much as you like. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to go through with you today is 7 principles of fundraising. And these are actually the main principles that you need to think about when you create a plan. And I would like you all as a group to create a concept for how you can do the fundraising, and think about these things. So let's discuss them, and let's ask all the questions that you have about these things. I will go through them one by one. The first one is communicate your cause clearly. I think that is almost self-evident. If we want to talk about what we want to do and why we are collecting money, we need to make it really clear that everyone understands what this is for, right? it might sound easier than it is, because how do you communicate that clearly? How do you communicate that you actually need money to plant a forest, and why you plant a forest? What's the forest for? What does it do? And stuff like that. There, you might start asking all these questions, especially, think about our target groups, like a company, for instance. Let's say the company selling cars, they might not be so much into the topic that they immediately understand what this is all about. Why plant a forest? What does that do, right? After all the lectures you've had so far, you should be able to answer a bunch of these questions. But actually, Christian just said, when you communicate, keep it as short as possible so that people understand what you're talking about immediately. And this is actually an art form, putting words together so that, in one sentence you can explain what this is for is wonderful, if you can do that. Because people don't give you so much attention. You don't have an hour to present something to a company or to other people. Most people are very busy and they can't listen for that long. So keeping it really short, maybe in one sentence, maybe in 1 to 3 sentences, a short paragraph or something, in which you explain why it is so important to give some money to a project like this to make a change. Yeah. So communicate your cause clearly. People really need to know, what is this money for and why do we need money? Questions, Barbara? If yes, you just jump in and just ask. Don't be afraid to just interrupt me at any point. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll go on. Identify your target audience. So, who are the people you're approaching? This is something, maybe you have some ideas already, then maybe you can share them. Do you have any target audience that you think you could approach with this? Because, you need to be a little more precise here. Let's say you say, okay, companies have a lot of money, maybe we can approach a company. But even the companies are not all the same. There are these huge multinational corporations. For instance, let's say a company like, I think Thorsten mentioned BMW or something like that. I can assure you it is not easy to get any money from BMW because that company is just too big. If you call someone, it will take you forever to reach the person who can actually make a decision there. Unless you have a way in, maybe you know someone at BMW, maybe you have insider contacts, then that's a completely different matter. Maybe you think about local companies. Maybe there you have direct contacts, or maybe they know you because you're a customer, right? So maybe there's a shop that you go to every day and they know you're their loyal customer. Maybe you can ask them. Maybe there's a regional company that is not as big as the multinational corporations, but does have a lot of money, and then you might find a way to actually get your cause across there. Once again, it will probably not be so easy because you won't be able to speak with the person who can make the decisions from the beginning. You kind of have to go step by step to go through it. And you have to be really convincing to take every step to actually be led through to the person who makes decisions. Yeah. So this is also a little about experimenting. So, it is not a problem if you try to go for something like that and then fail, and don't be disappointed if you fail. This is, just see it as a learning experience. This is actually a wonderful opportunity to give you the experience of getting fundraising for a good cause and from companies if you want to try that out. And it's up to you to decide what you want to try out. Yeah? Please do me the favor and don't be disappointed if you aim for something big and fail. That always happens. It happens to the best people. It happens to professional fundraisers too. Just see it as an experience and try to learn from it. Try to see, where did I fail to convince them? Where did they not let me continue? What could I have done different? Yeah. So the trade-off is at the higher level. If we are talking about multinational corporations or something, which is the high end of companies, which I think is almost impossible, right? the good thing about them is there's also a lot of money there. So for them to say, oh, here's 100,000, not a problem for them. That's something they can spend easily. Whereas on the lower level, where you have maybe a family-owned business, they will not have that kind of money. You would be happy if they say, okay, here's 100 euros that I give you, and that's fine too. We are not in a situation in which we really need to maximize the money that comes in. It is really more about the experience of finding out how fundraising works and to find out how good we are, what we can achieve with this. Yeah. So I really encourage you to try out different things and see how far you get with this. But in order for that to work, you have to understand your target audience. You have to understand how these companies works, who makes the decisions, and where you need to get with your message in order to be successful. Okay, questions about that or comments? Remember, you can interrupt me at any point. I don't want to lecture. I more want to have a discussion with you guys. So knowing your target audience. Let's go to the next one. Make use of multiple channels. Also going back to what Christian already presented. In marketing, it is often a rule of thumb that you don't want to reach a consumer through just one channel. It is often good to have at least two channels to reach a consumer through, because when we hear a message once, it's we might notice it, but we don't act on it usually. It takes humans a while to react to something and to actually really start thinking about something. And that's the reason why when you see marketing campaigns of bigger companies, you will usually see them on several channels. And in many cases, you will see them subconsciously. You will not think about it. But together they work, and together they build an image. So for instance, you might see a poster, or something like that at the bus stop, and totally ignore it, but subconsciously you will have seen something before, and then you hear something on the radio, or you see a spot on TV. Something. These all work together. There's a big reason why companies do that. And of course, radio or TV are probably out of reach for us, and they cost a lot, so we won't look at them. But if you think about the channels we have available, the social media channels that we can use, the direct channels, so a direct call, a direct email. Often when I want something from people, I send an email and then I also give them a call. Once again, two channels. The spoken channel and the channel where people can read things. This often really, really helps, because then people become aware of it, right? When you reach out to your target audience that you define, you need to define your channels as well. You need to think about what kind of channels you will use. And there are channels like social media that just, spread your message widely. Anyone can look at them and can see it. There are channels that are very targeted, like an email usually goes out to a certain person, or a call goes out to a certain person. So think about maybe using them in combination on how to achieve your goals. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Acknowledge your sponsors. This is really important because, in most cases, people really want their contribution to be acknowledged. They want, people like hearing, hey, I'm so proud of you because you gave all this money. They want to get something out of it. And acknowledgement is one of the big things, actually. So, question for you guys, maybe you already have some ideas. What could we do to acknowledge our sponsors? How can we, make their names public? Or how can we show to the world that these people actually contributed money? Do you have ideas for that?
maybe we could use social media. Like we could publish the names of the sponsors on an Instagram page or maybe a YouTube video.
Okay, okay, it's a great idea. How do you imagine publishing the names? Because I can tell you here, publishing the names on Instagram or on a YouTube video is not very exciting. Who wants to watch a video with a bunch of names?
Yeah, maybe you could implement it in something more interesting. Maybe you could give out a bit information about the project or say what exactly is happening right now. And then at the end of the video, you could say, by the way, we had help of our sponsor or something like that.
Yeah, very, very good. So you tie the name exactly to a status report or an update or something like that, where you film something and show things. Absolutely, yeah. Great.
Yes,
idea.
and for that we should get the permission of the companies that we might use their logos, for example, as Henriette said, when we mentioned, I come again to the cars, yeah, Mercedes and BMW has sponsored us, so then we might put up their logos if we are allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And this is something you need to ask them basically when they say we want to become a sponsor. But absolutely, showing their logo, showing their names and stuff like that. You could even go further and say, hey, can we do a 20-second interview with you where you just basically explain why your company thinks our forest is important. You know, this is actually both for good for both sides, right? Because it also tells the world what this school or what these two schools are doing is really, really good. And we as a company value that. So they are endorsing you. Whereas on the other hand, it's also good for them because it shows them as the benefactor who's, you know, supporting a good project. So things like, you know, it's always good if everyone wins, you know, if everyone benefits from the situation. So think about it. But acknowledging your sponsor, just remember that is extremely important. They want to be seen, especially companies. When we talk about people,
no problem. But you can use their logo, and maybe in this specific case, you can make this logo with plants or something like this, or that's just like based on the company we're working with. Maybe we can integrate their products in our journey by building this tiny forest. And based on the company we're working with, we can integrate the products, and that is like a win-win situation for both.
Yes, I mean, I like your thinking. That's a good idea. It's not always easy, I think. You know, like if their products are gardening tools, then definitely, you know, you show, hey, we're using their shovels.
Yes, but Ras, you could transport us with a Mercedes-Benz or with a BMW. This would be fine.
Yeah, right.
So I understand that sometimes it's very hard, but just like in specific, you can use the tools or something like this from the companies, and maybe they just like create a product. It's just like for a project, and would definitely be good for both. So just as an idea.
Absolutely. Just a small warning here, because you also need to be a little careful about how you communicate to the public. If you're embracing the company too much, you know, basically if you're doing advertising for them, usually that is not seen as a positive thing in the public eye, right? It is great if you acknowledge them and say, this company is a great partner because they have given us the money to make this possible. Great, people like that. If you say, and we love their product, and, you know, buy, you know, this skin cream or something like that, that is a point at which it becomes negative, you know, because people will say, okay, so are they really in it for the good cause, or are they basically just advertising for the company? Be a little careful when it comes to that. Yeah, it's great to embrace them and say, hey, they are a great partner, but be a little careful about not becoming basically an advertising arm of the company. Yeah. Do you know what I mean in this?
Yeah, I think we have understood. I have one more thing to legalize ourselves in this project, because we also find that sometimes people are collecting money by devious ways where you don't know, is this really a good cause, or is somebody just collecting money for himself and betraying the others? So one thing that I have in my mind is we have an official website of our school, and there we could launch the project in a sub-site, and then you generate a QR code, for example, with a link where somebody can just scan it and see this is an official website where we have, as you said, for example, videos with interviews and so, and explain our fundraising and this project, and then show we are the real people from this project that is officially fundraising, and not somebody who is doing something else.
Yes, that actually ties in with the next point I have, because it's about building trust and building relationship. You actually have to do more than just go to a person and say, would you donate some money to this? With sponsors, you have to build a relationship, because they want to hear from you. They also want to hear about the progress of your project. You need to, keep communicating with them, and you need a plan for that as well. So basically, it's not enough to approach them and get them to a point where they give you money. You also need to go a little further and keep them in the loop, because they are basically, see them as your partners in this, right? They say, we want your project to succeed. We are contributing to that. But in return, they want to be involved in this. So yes, they want to see updates and stuff. And I'm not saying you need to call them every time you planted a new tree or something like that, but it would be good to give them easy access to see what you're doing, easy updates. And if you communicate through Instagram, you tell them, you follow our Instagram, here you can see the updates. But at some points, you should also reach out directly. For instance, when you're done with the whole thing, it would be nice to get a personal message. I mean, like if I were a company, I would be really happy if you reached out to me and said, hey, we're done with this now. You can follow all of our progress on Instagram. You can see the results there. And we thank you again for making this possible. This is really important, building relationships, because those will last. If you come to me again, then as a company, I will be immediately willing to engage with you again, because you've done such a fantastic job before, right? Or if let's not only think about yourselves. If other projects of this kind come to them, they will say, wow, I've had this fantastic experience before. I feel like it's really worth, engaging in something like that. So, you're also doing something good for other possible projects or other fundraising. Okay. I have two more, I think. One is keep your work transparent. This also has to do with building trust. And this is very important, because unfortunately, we live in a world in which there are a lot of scams out there, a lot of people trying to get money out of you for nefarious purposes. So it is highly recommended that you stay very transparent, that you show how much money you have received from people, how that money is spent, and everything like that. And, as someone who is giving money, it puts you in a better ease of mind if you actually know what happens to the money and how people deal with the money. And when you're very transparent, that builds a layer of trust, because then you're not hiding and you're not doing anything that I don't want you to do. You have to, like when it comes to companies, you have to understand that companies are also in a position in which this is highly relevant for them. Imagine a company gives money to a cause, and then it turns out that this was all a scam, and they are actually supporting something totally different. That could actually destroy the image of the company. It could, suddenly they are suddenly they are linked to some extremist or racist or something like that. Just imagine the damage a company would take from that. So for a company, it is extremely important to know what you're doing, to be able to follow your actions, to see what's going on. So keep that in mind as well. Be transparent. And come up with yeah, go ahead.
This brings us to a crucial point, because when we start collecting money, then this money would be transferred to some place, to a bank account, and it can't be one of the personal accounts of one of the members here in this meeting. So I already talked to Christian. We would need some account to give on to the companies or to the personal people, because I don't think that we will collect coin by coin, something like that, because that's not usual anymore, that somebody gives really real money on the street. But we would say you may transfer money here to this official account of Tiny Forest Project, and it should be very clear that this is a real and existing and official place where the money goes to.
Absolutely. And we already said what we could do is we could actually facilitate that with an official account through Dragon Legion, because we are a non-profit organization. That's always very helpful when collecting money. And what I mean when saying be transparent is we should really make it public to see the money that went into this account. Basically, not saying we need to show show the account movements or something like that, but definitely have a list of saying this much money went in there from this sponsor, and list them all in some way, or at least give our sponsors that information. We have to decide how we want to be transparent, but we need to be transparent. That is extremely important, and we need to have an account that they can verify. Absolutely, I'm with you. We're working on that, we need to show them what happens with the money as well. So when we're spending the money, we should maybe do a post about that, or maybe do a video about that, or something like that, and put it on a website where people can read about that. So it builds trust to see that the group of people that collects money, it builds trust to see how they spend that money. And if they're transparent about it and say, hey, we have nothing to hide, we will show you what we do with the money because we know it's for the cause, then that's a good reason for companies and individuals to be involved in this and say, hey, this is really a good investment for me. I like to put my money there because they're using all the money for the cause. They're not using that money to bribe someone or something like that. So that's really important. But it is up to you really to come up with ways of communicating this. How do you want to make it transparent? Yes, we'll take care of the bank account. We'll make it as easy and as official and trustworthy as possible there. But that's not all. You still need to communicate to the public how that money is used. Yeah. Last point. Evaluate your actions. This goes back to a little to, Christian already mentioned that at the beginning, but when we go through these principles of fundraising, we should always be in a situation in which we evaluate what we did and basically ask ourselves, did we succeed or not? And if we succeeded, why did we succeed? What made them give us the money? And if we did not succeed, why did we not succeed? Where did we go wrong? Maybe what did we do that wasn't convincing enough? Or at what point did they lose interest, right? So that we can do it better in the future. So constant self-evaluation is really important in this as well. We can't just, if we fail, as I said, don't be disappointed if you fail because, most people don't have money to spare and to give away. But it is definitely an important learning experience. So we can always learn from our failures. Evaluating doesn't need to be like this whole big complicated procedure. We can just sit down maybe with someone else and talk about it and think about what went wrong and what could we have done differently. So that's the essence of this. And what I would like you to do, going to the next one, is actually create a concept answering these questions. And I will send you these questions so you have them all available. But they actually address the 7 core principles of fundraising. What is your cause? Try to, put that in writing. So if I tell you, okay, so I have 1 minute in time for you, tell me why you want money from me. You need to be able to tell me that in 1 minute or less. Ideally, 1 sentence. Who's your target audience? Define who you want to approach to get money from. Which channels of communications do you use? Yeah, you can't use all the channels. There are so many channels there, but think about what makes sense. And remember, try to at least hit them with 2 channels where they can see you, where they can actually hear about your project. Website is definitely a good one, because it's something that people can always go to, where you can have the most relevant information condensed, in a few words. But other channels, and people mentioned things like Instagram, where you can show progress and stuff like that, especially once you start having images and videos, that's a really good one too. But, personal channels, email, phone calls, and stuff like that as well. Which channels of communication? So think about that. Next one is, how do you acknowledge your sponsors? Here we already have a few ideas. Write those down. Those are really important. Maybe even test them out. Talk to the people about it. Find out what they like and what they don't like. Some companies might want to be a little more anonymous, which is, or some especially personal things like people. If you mentioned wealthy people that say, hey, I have enough money, I would like to put some money into this. Often they want to be anonymous, and that's fine. If they want to be anonymous, then give them that, grant them their wish. But if not, make sure they are seen. Maybe think about flags on the trees. Maybe think about how a person can claim a tree, or, you name the tree after them or something like that. There could be hundreds of ideas there on how to connect them. Like on the people level, people want something that is meaningful to them. People want to be connected. If we're not talking about companies, if we talk about private people who might be donating to this, maybe think about the opportunity to give them a tree and dedicate the tree to them if they, donate a certain amount for it. That could be an option, or a way to present them on social media and so on. Companies, of course, have a very specific idea behind this, and so you need to try to give them something that can make them look good. Yeah. Communication with the sponsors. So how do you build that relationship? Remember, it's not enough just to go to them, ask for the money, and then be gone. How do you keep them updated? At what stage do you maybe contact them and say, thank you very much, look what we've accomplished, and you were part of this. Yeah. Keep that relationship alive. By the way, often if you keep a relationship alive really well, then at least on company level, they when they don't know you at the beginning, they are sometimes willing to give you a little money and say, yeah, here's some money. I think that's a good cause. I support you. But when you keep the relationship alive and they really see what you're doing and you're doing really well, they're often in a situation in which they say, wow, they have proven themselves to be really good partners. Here's some more money. Right? That could also happen. It's often the case. Next thing, how do you keep your work transparent, especially when it comes to money? Make sure that people see where the money is going. How do you communicate that? Think about that. And finally, how do you measure the success of your efforts? That's the evaluation part, where you basically define how you want to see if you were successful or not. And that's a discussion about what to do. I would like you to actually work on this a little during the next week or so. I think some of you have Easter vacation soon, so it doesn't need to be in a week, but in the next, until I think we're gonna have another workshop meeting. Try to get it done until then. at least a rough version. And we have opened the Discord channel because we want a little more interaction with you guys. And Christian and I will definitely step in and discuss these things with you. So try to come up with ideas here. Let's try to develop these ideas into a real concept so that we have a fundraising concept that we can apply them. And then we'll just try it out together. Christian and I will help you with the concept. We'll help you go over it. We'll answer any questions you might have. And we'll help you reach a solid concept as well. Okay.
Yes, for
Are there
the
any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
no, but I want to mention
Yeah, go ahead.
something for the
Yeah.
German guys here from the Ricarda. I can say that we will meet after the holidays because we have 3 weeks of Easter holidays, 3 weeks indeed.
Lucky you.
And yeah, but during that time there will be not much from our side. So don't be disappointed if you open something in Discord and you see there maybe a lot of people from Gozo, but not so many people from Dreieich. So this will be due to the holidays, and but after the holidays we will meet. And as you have seen, we have some ideas. We will also think about make a visit to the Darmstadt tiny forest. This is on our plan, and make a picture there and go to a local newspaper to get an article. And so we have some stuff to put up with the points that you just mentioned, but it will take some time.
Yeah, no problem. It can take all the time you need. That's no problem.
I would like to add another task. Since we have the next lecture already on Tuesday, next Tuesday, and this would be the last one, and Stefan will talk about the practice. What are we going to do in October? Maybe you could think of concerning all the lectures we had already. Stefan, we're talking about what do you need for setting up a tiny forest. Professor Kassar, we're talking about specific plants and trees you could plant on Gozo. Concerning all that, you should maybe make, I don't know, a list or create an imagination. What do we need for the project? And in a second step, maybe, because if you want to raise funds, maybe it's helpful to know how much we need, how much money we need. So maybe in a second step, if you know what do we need for setting up this tiny forest, how much money would that cost? So how much do we have to raise? Maybe this would be a good preparation. Maybe a list of questions, if you don't find out or by research, for Stefan next week, he could answer. How many trees do we need? Stuff like that. And how much would that almost cost? Something like that. Maybe that would be a good preparation for the next lecture on Tuesday. And maybe after that, you can do the tasks Rasmus just were talking about, because I guess in these couple of days, it's 3 days, 3 school days, working days. Maybe the other one would be more important to get a clue, what do we need and how many money do we need then for this. A suggestion for that. Maybe, or you're just asking Stefan next week. Maybe he has an answer of that. But we definitely have to find out what does it all cost and how much money do we have to raise. All right. If there are any more questions, just ask them.
I got one question regarding the Discord channel, because I could not find it anymore. Where exactly was it shared?
Well, I sent a link, I guess, to your teacher. And you tried this link?
We got this link, but unfortunately, neither Andre nor me, we could put it up. There was, we got to Discord. I also have an account there, and I've seen you have invited me, but before I couldn't go to any kind of channel or so. So we are still on it, and as soon as we fixed it, how to get, we will pass it on to the students.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I think I can also just post an invitation link in here.
Yes, I think Andre mentioned that it's only a special time period when the invitation link is valid. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's possible. I don't know which link Christian did. I'm going to post the link in here, right? So
Okay, that's a good idea.
we have it here. I don't know how to post in Zoom.
Are you doing it?
Something really
In the chat?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Hmm.
I'm doing it. There you go.
So I'm sorry for the technical problems I had, and also that I forgot to record the first part of my presentation. I will do this privately and put it in front of ERASMUS presentation, and you will get it this time maybe on Sunday, because in between that I have too much things to do. I'm sorry about that. But then you can have a look at it again on the YouTube channel. You have that link, and now you have the link to the Discord channel. Yes, there it is. If you look in the chat, there's the link. Maybe all of you just click at it now, then you have it. Any other questions? And I hope the excitement raises already, because we are almost at the end of the lectures. Okay, far away from October, end of October, but there's a bit to do in between, as you maybe see now. But it's going to be fun, I guess, and it's going to be a great experience, and it's going to be great on Malta and Gozo. You will see, it's going to be very nice. Okay, so any questions? No questions? Then I guess we can wrap it up.
Have a good evening, everyone over there in Europe, because I'm in America at the moment. But
that's why the fireplace is in the background, right?
That's why I'm in a cold place here. I'm up in the north.
Oh,
it
okay.
snowed a few days ago. So,
so
yeah, but in a nice place. Right? So, but I'll be back in Europe next week.
Okay. So thanks very much.
It was nice meeting you. Thanks for participating, and see you soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.